Do you wish you could get virtual attendees to turn their cameras on? Is engagement the number one issue on your virtual meetings? Do you want your meeting to be the most engaging virtual meeting? Well, welcome to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. In this podcast, we'll talk to the top people around the world in virtual meetings and give you, the listener, the best ideas to host engaging virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Now, let's welcome your host, the author of the #1 Amazon hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings, John Chen.
Well, hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. I am your host, Patrick. Tonight is a very special night because we are going to be talking about fatherhood. We're just going to move forward and get this thing started. Let me see. Who am I going to bring on first? By the way, if you have any questions, make sure that you drop them in the chat. We are streaming live to Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. If you are checking it out on YouTube, under the Jackman Group LLC, at the Jackman Group LLC on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and like this episode, and of course hit the bell so that you can be notified when we are streaming to YouTube. All right, let's start. I'm going to go all the way out west, northwest that is, and I'm going to welcome in a good friend of mine from Seattle, Washington. You know him as the Virtual King. He does everything virtual. I'll let him show you his setup. John Chen, welcome to the 30, sir.
Come on, everyone, give it up to the one and only Big Daddy Patrick Jackman.
All right, John. How many monitors do you have there? I think you were telling Dave you had about 12 or 14.
I've got 14 if you don't count iPads and iPhones.
Oh, Jesus. You're just out of your mind. All right. Here's another guest. We have another father all the way from Florida, David Marco. David, welcome to the 30.
Hey, Patrick. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem. John and David, let's see. Should I bring mine out? Yeah, I'm going to bring mine out in first. We're going to go across the pond, right? If you know when I said across the pond, we're going to go to England and welcome Mynell. Mynell, welcome to the 30.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I was really thrilled when you messaged me earlier this evening. Delighted to be here. It's not the evening anymore in England. It's now the night time as we're hitting just past the 12:30 at night. But fortunately for you and for everybody, I don't go to bed till about 2 o'clock, so we're good.
So you get the prize of being the furthest of all of us. I thought John was far, but now you are over the pond and beyond.
So, if I look at my window and turn left, I do get to see the sea.
There we go. Then I have my brother in Arizona, and I think my uncle in Barbados is supposed to be joining us as well. Let's see if Akeem is there. He's with his youngest son, so I don't know. Maybe he's keeping him back, keeping noise. Welcome, Akeem.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, you are welcome. You are welcome. So we're talking fathers. We're talking fatherhood. Let's talk about your experience. John, with you, how many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids, Patrick. They are 25, 23, 21.
Okay, wow.
So I'm empty nested now at an amazing part of my life.
There we go. So if we look at the definition of fatherhood, right? I posted that earlier as a reminder for the show. And part of it, if you look at what we said about fatherhood is about what? Fatherhood is defined as a male or parent or caregiver who contributes to the biological or social upbringing of a child. Fathers play a significant role in the child's life, serving as a role model, mentor, and source of emotional and practical support. So let's go to David. David, what about you? How many kids do you have? I know this, but let our viewers know.
Sure. So I have one little girl. She's 7 years old. She will be 8 in September. And yeah, so just got the one little girl. Keeps me busy and keeps me young.
Awesome. Great. And I know David, just in terms of transparency, my wife and I attended David and Jimmy's wedding. So that was fantastic. So David is family. And now?
Thank you.
I've got 3 of the little darlings. The eldest is 24. She's been off to university and she's come back and now lives in the annex, which was my mother's before she died. We've got the 20-year-old, no longer a teenager, just past that, at university away from home. And like David, we have a 7-year-old in the house. Okay. So there's a lot of fun.
Great. So let's talk about fatherhood. And by the way, we'll have some other guests drop in and out as we go through the course of the evening. Who would like to take this question here? Let's see. What does being a father mean to you personally?
Well, like I guess all of us, life changes with your first child, and you're never ready for it. You never know what's going to happen, and in my family, whilst both my wife and I nurture and love, I get to do the things with the children that's a little bit more risky. I get to do the things that's a little bit more fun. I don't know if that's a stereotypical way that fatherhood works. I do less of the domestic and more of the adventure.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Maynell. David, what does fatherhood mean to you? Being a father, what does it mean?
It's funny that there are so many truisms that are said with regards to being a parent. Things like, oh, it goes by so fast and you'll never experience love that you will for your own child. And you hear these things and you think they're true, but you don't know unless you experience it for yourself. And when you do, you realize they're very much true. I remember when Hannah was born, and in that moment, your entire life changes. All of a sudden, you go from being someone that's solely responsible for yourself, maybe your partner, to then being responsible for a little life. And you look into that child's eyes and they look into yours, and that love is greater than any love you could get from anyone or anything. And in that sense, the truism is very accurate.
Okay, great. John, what does being a father mean to you?
Being a father, one of the fun parts is that while you think when you first start fatherhood that you might be doing all the instruction and telling people what to do, quite often then your kids reach a stage where you think that nothing you did was really valuable. But what's great is as the kids get older, again, I'm kind of in this later stage now, you suddenly realize what rubbed off and what didn't rub off. And I actually want to share a little video here. My youngest here competed in his first bodybuilding competition. Let me just show you 30 seconds of his result here. Here we go.
Wow.
So, in this case here, what was great about this too is that he worked 5 months. He had already been bodybuilding and doing some weightlifting prior to that, but he did 5 months of specifically for this contest. And what I'm excited to report is that he won 3 number ones in 3 different categories. And it's just really cool. There's nothing better in a parenting moment than seeing your kids succeed at something that they want to do. Back to you, Pat.
Okay, great. Looks like Akeem dropped off. Hopefully he can join again. What qualities, guys, what qualities do you think make a great father? What qualities make a great father? And David, I'm going to go to you.
Okay. I think the qualities for a father change as a child develops and grows. My responsibility to Hannah at this point, given the fact that she's as young as she is just to sort of try and guide her through those early years and try and be patient and be there for her. But also, one of the things I was saying before is I think she keeps me young and is, trying to be available to her and to play with her. I mean, I think I still have a mental age of a 7-year-old, so I think that's possibly quite easy for me. But just engaging with her as much as I can and letting her know that I'm there for her no matter what.
It's great. Now, same question for you.
Well, I think tolerance, calmness, listening ability, and the desire to do good, I think, are essential parts of fatherhood. As a person who, I'm a play worker, I work with children and have done for most of my life. And some of the values I have in my work, I think, are important in fatherhood. Respect your children. Be open to what they want. Try not to direct their lives too much. Open opportunities to them. Be kind, be gentle. More love.
More love. Okay. Let's talk about challenges. What are some of the challenges that you have faced personally as a father?
Well, here, I'll add to some of this, Patrick. You asked about skills of a father, and one of the best things I think you can do as a father is to help your kids resolve conflict, right? And they can start with small conflicts because ideally they can go into bigger. And I have kind of two stories I think I'd share with this. The first story is that my 3 kids, I'd pick them up after school, and I would, everyone's hungry, like we want to go. So one of my tactics for that was I wouldn't turn on the car and start driving until the 3 of them agreed where they wanted to go. So I wouldn't have to go to like 3 different restaurants. And it was really great to watch my kids develop skills of like negotiating. And they would do things like, you picked last time, so we should pick. And we went to this restaurant last time, so let's go to this one. And eventually they would learn to come to agreement really quickly. This came out later, Patrick, in one of the other stories where at my school, the headmaster came back and let me know that my son had broken up a fight on the school campus by using facilitation. And that's my hopes and dreams as a parent, that we show our kids how to resolve conflict in productive ways.
Great, John. Looks like we're freezing, so we're going to continue here. Let's see here. What about, can you share any of your funny stories or heartwarming stories about your experiences as a father? What are some of the things that you have gone through that you like to share that's pretty funny?
Well, when my eldest daughter went off to university, she'd ring home for a chat and everything. She'd answer the phone, go, "Hi, how are you?" But by the time she's finished her first year and she's into her second year, I learned there's a different way to answer the phone, which is, "How much?"
That's a good one. That's a good one, especially university or colleges, right? That's good. David, I think Hannah is the youngest.
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
children
Well,
here.
Maynell was saying that he has a 7-year-old at home as well.
Yeah.
What he's telling me is in about 11 years or so, I've got to start learning how to answer the phone in a different fashion. But I'll start working on that.
In
There's
11 years, you won't have to answer a phone, David.
Yeah,
and
that's
there's
true.
Daddy, can you come and get me?
Yeah, I can see that too. I've seen that with my nieces and nephews, where we've certainly gone on rescue trips to get them out of all kinds of interesting issues. But yeah, I think the greatest thing about being a dad is it's not just like the isolated incidences of funny stories. You know, Hannah, even at 7, I mean, she's clearly got a bit of my personality and Jamie's personality, and she's just funny. You know, you don't, or at least I didn't expect someone of that age to make us laugh as much as she does, but she will take an opportunity to pretend to be us, and sort of say some of the things that we are inclined to say, either to each other or to her. But she'll dress up, she'll be silly, and she brings a lot of comedy to the house, and it makes it so much more of an enjoyable experience. You know, it's not just about having that responsibility as a parent and being a father, but you've got someone that is truly part of the entertainment of the household. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I love that, David. You know, one of the key aspects you learn as a father is every kid is different, right? Well, one kid might be funny, some other kid might be, skilled at something else. And my youngest, he's skilled at negotiation. And so we took a cruise ship once, and, a cruise ship goes onto a private island, and all the people on the private island make their living by buying a slot, and they can sell stuff to all the tourists that come on the island. Well, they're pretty aggressive negotiators, but I discovered my son was a really aggressive negotiator when he came back, and they wanted to charge him for $25 at the beginning. By the time we left the island 5 hours later, he bought it for $2, and most of the other places would not deal with him. They would not do business with him. So that's one of the funny stories from my kids.
What do you think is some of the most valuable lessons that you can pass on to other dads from what you've learned?
Sure, I'll start off with this one, Patrick, which is, I think the most valuable lesson that I got is what you think they need and what they actually need is really different. And so when I grew up, it was kind of command and control as a dad. And by the time I'm sitting here in my seat, it's more, right, facilitate and listen, right? And that's really seems to be what is my valuable lesson I could pass on to other dads at this stage is, I think it's important for me and important for my kids to support them on whoever they're going to be, no matter what they're going to be.
Great. Awesome. Let me welcome my uncle all the way from the beautiful island of Barbados, AJ Alpha Jackman. Alpha, welcome. Tell our viewers, how many kids do you have? And then what's the most valuable thing you can pass on to whether new dads or dads that have been around for a while?
Okay. Alpha Jackman. I have 4 kids. Just want to mention, since it's Father's Day, that my dad had 21 kids. So he's now passed away. So 21 kids my dad had. I have only 4. But the valuable thing I learned is that being a dad is nonstop. You go through different stages and phases in your life. Also, your kids go through different times in their life. Graduation, working, school, sports, whatever. And you have to be there all the time. So it is a non-stop job. And if you got 4 kids non-stop by 4, So it's but support is as your colleague said, support is the key. Support them everything they do. One of the best ways of supporting is to be there. It's okay to support over the phone, but being there means a lot to the kids. To just be there to see them and support them in person as much as you can.
Awesome. So wait, 20? How many kids? 21?
Yeah, my dad had 21 children.
So I'm way behind because I'm thinking there were only 15, 14 or 15.
You miscount.
So Alpha's dad is my grandfather on my dad's side. So just to give you some transparency there. Let's see here. How has the role of fathers evolved as far as you can see? How have the role of fathers evolved over time? And what changes have you observed in the way society perceives and supports fatherhood? Who'd like to take that?
Yeah, I'll have a go here.
Go ahead.
Toxic masculinity. You know, let's go back to that. You know, where the father was the commander, was the boss, was the father talked, no one else would. From English history, go back to Victorian times. Children were often seen as little adults. The father ruled the roost. The role of women was being subservient. It goes to now, and in two-parent families, the relationship is far more balanced. Everyone has a say, everyone has a role, and I think that's a significant change. And men are learning that we don't have to be, that big, imposing, domineering, masculine figure. We can be loving, we can be caring, we can show respect, we can make mistakes, and we can own up to them. I think that's a tremendous change.
Great. John, and then I'll come to David and last Alpha. Same question. How has fatherhood evolved?
Fatherhood's involved in this other way too. Maynell's kind of talking about this one part, but I single dadded after, of course, a period of time. And I got to tell you that one thing that I think I experienced is what I kind of call super dad. I think we're all kind of familiar with super mom, a mom that does everything. But now in this new age where, in the past, the roles used to be split, but now you get to do everything. The flip side of, being involved in everything is that a guy has to do, now everything too. So not only are they working or bringing resources or whatever it might be, but, now when they come home from work, they're expected to take over and give mom a break and all these other things. And I do know that I experienced that at some point, that the pendulum has been swinging back and forth for years. And I'll be curious if there are any other viewers out there or any other dads who are on the show who have felt that at some point, where we feel like the dads, of the past maybe had it easier because they had less roles. I think we get the rewards for doing more, but at the same time, there were a lot more responsibilities, at least in my experience.
David, you want to take that one?
Yeah, a few things. I was very lucky and still am. My father was and is a very gentle, kind, loving man. So I was sort of brought up in that environment, and I try and transfer that into me as an individual and me as a father. I think John's hit on something as well. The challenges of fatherhood now are that there is the need to balance everything that we do during the day at work, and then try and do as much as we can, when we get home and on the weekends. For me, it's frustrating that I think my wife has much more of an opportunity to spend with Hannah, and I feel like I miss out on that. because we are sort of oftentimes working during the day and sometimes at night, as I am now, and not spending the time with Hannah. But what I see is that when you give your time to your kids, that it's just the most rewarding experience. It's funny that when Hannah was born, and it wasn't even a question to me that I would look after her as a baby and change her diapers and put her to bed and feed her. And these were things that were questioned by older members of the family, that this is something that they'd never done. They were surprised by it. And yet to me, it was just a natural thing. And I think it created a stronger bond with Hannah and continues to this day.
Great. Thank you so much. Alpha, what do you think? How has fatherhood evolved? In your opinion, you can come off mute.
Well, I've been a father 32 years. So I've had my first daughter in the early 90s. So in those days, you didn't have social media, different times. So you had to be kind of a different parent. Now I have 3 other kids who were born in the 20s and in the 21st century. So they are different. They have different needs, and you as a parent have to also be more flexible and change with the times. Instagram, social media. So a lot of things have changed. So you have to also adapt to those changes. So we had one girl in 1991. Then we have 2 kids in the early 21st century. So you change with times. Going back to my dad, all my dad owned was a bicycle. He was a carpenter, never follow you, never support your football games. Now you have to support, got to be there. So things have changed a lot, but the responsibility is still there. And that's a key word. You're still responsible and head of the household. So that's how I see it.
Great. John, you said you went through a period where you were single dad. Let's talk about that. I know we're going over a little bit here, but I think it's important to let our dads, give our dads some time, some love. Let's talk about you being a single dad and what was that experience like?
Oh, geez, Patrick. Well, one, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Every training I've ever taken in my entire life, I had to use to get through that period. Patrick, what I'm happy to report to you, and this really goes out, if I could only tell upcoming single dads one thing, is to go for the max. And here's what I mean by that. At least in the deal that I got, my past significant other was being fair. And so I asked for and got 50% of the time with my kids. And in my lifetime, Patrick, I've been able to convince at least one other dad who was going to take a weekend, right? And I said, why don't you ask for half of the time? I mean, it's half of your kid, for crying out loud, half of the time. And he got it. And he came back to me years later and he thanked me for that because for me, Patrick, in my experience, once that happened, what I did is I raised all my kids myself. I did not get a nanny. I did not get somebody else, right? I cooked for those kids. I showed them these are things that my mom did for me where I grew up, and that these are things that I showed my kids, that these are all the things we're going to do to make this house work, right? When you only have one parent. And so while it was challenging, I believe my kids have come through it better. And I think they are now getting to the stages too, where they are starting to consider relationships and marriage. And I hope that they took something with it. One thing that happened too is that both me and my significant other at the time went through counseling as we went through divorce. And almost all the counselors said, we've never seen a couple actually continue counseling while they were going through the process. Usually they cut it off. And that was something that we both decided to do mainly for the kids. And I think it has shown, hopefully you saw in the result of my son there, that the kids are all thriving. And as a parent, that's the one thing we all want. We want all of our kids to be healthy and happy and doing great. Thanks, Patrick.
Great. Thanks, John. If you have any questions, and we're going to wrap up here shortly, but if you have any questions for our guests or any comments, put it in the chat, and then we can put it up on the screen. As we end, let me have one last question for you here. And what advice or words of wisdom would you give to new parents, new fathers, or even experienced fathers from what you have gone through and what you've learned from your own experiences? Let's start with Alpha first. What advice?
Be true and be honest and try to be supportive. It's hard. Life is not easy, but if you show your kids that you are trying to make the effort, they will understand. But you have to kind of meet them halfway and show some courage, some love, and stick with them. That's the key. So thin and thick, you stick with them. You finish the game. That's
awesome. It. Awesome. And you have some dynamic kids. Your oldest daughter, Sadia, she was, I think, Miss Barbados, or
yeah.
right?
She was in that. Yeah, she was contestant. She came first runners up in Miss Barbados World, and she represented the island in Miss Caribbean. And she's successful. She's a great mom. My son AJ is a pilot. Just graduated in April to be a pilot in Canada. And then my 17-year-old just turned 17. Christopher, he will represent Barbados in golf. The Caribbean Amateur Junior Golf Championship in Caymans. And they also pick him to represent the island in the Caribbean Amateur Championship. So he'll be playing against hard batman, as we say, based in term, at the end of July. And then there's Sky, who's my princess. She's doing her CSCs and stuff. So 4 great kids, but I got to thank my wife for supporting me as well and supporting the kids, because she's also come a long way. And we as a couple has come a long way, as a family.
Great.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. Thanks, Alpha. Mynel, what advice would you give to new fathers or more experienced fathers from your own life?
Well, firstly, I completely agree with Alpha about love. Don't be scared to show love. You don't have to pretend to be something you're not as a father. It's okay to make mistakes. Nothing wrong with making mistakes. We don't try to be perfect. We're not perfect. Discuss what you're doing with your partner so that you have a uniform approach to childcare and the values of your family. That's really important. And enjoy, or try to enjoy, every little moment, the good ones and the bad ones, because they'll make stories when the children are a bit older. And never forget this. When a child says, "Daddy, I want Mummy," it's like when you're going to the store and you've got a complaint and you ask to see the manager.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mynel. That's a good one. David, what advice could you give to new fathers or even more experienced fathers?
Well, first of all, I hope my wife's not watching. Otherwise, she'll get the notion that she's the manager, which she is, but I just don't like to admit it. I echo what's already been said. I think the most important thing is to show love, but also to make sure that you tell your children how much you love them. Not just by your actions, but with your words as well. So they truly understand that they are loved and cared for and supported and protected. And it is important for them to understand that we're not perfect. And you can do that by saying sorry if you do something that is not right, or you gave them the wrong advice, or something didn't turn out the way it should have done. It's okay to tell your children that you're sorry. Let them understand that. And just try and appreciate every moment, because going back to one of the things I said at the beginning, the truism, the notion that it goes by so fast. I mean, my daughter's almost 8, so she's considerably younger than some of the other kids we've been talking about here, and I can't believe she's 8 already. So try and cherish every moment, because it does go by very quickly, every moment is to be cherished.
Great. Thanks, David. I know you were taking up some of your time, so want to thank you. You're still at work, so thank you for being here. Make sure that you wrap up and go home to Hannah.
Of course. Happy to be here. Happy to join in. Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, not a problem. John, finish us up.
Here's my advice to all those dads out there. When it's good, just let it be good. All right. Don't mess it up as a dad. Just let it be good. And sometimes you got to recognize what those good moments are. There's sometimes the easy ones, like when somebody wins a contest or performs in a show. But sometimes they're just the times when you're sitting outside, or you went fishing, or you're camping, and there's nothing going on, but you're just with your kids. Sometimes that's the good stuff. And my challenge to the dads there, that's something you want to take on this Father's Day, see if you can slow down and recognize what one of those good times for you and your kids is. Thanks again, Patrick.
Great. All right, guys. Thank you so very much for being here. This is fantastic. We're going to try to do another one, probably Father's Day. So if you would like to be on the next show, make sure that you drop me a line as we celebrate our dads, as we celebrate Father's Day. We know mothers. I tell my wife when we go to make reservations for Mother's Day, all the restaurants are overbooked, right? Everything is sold out. It's overbooked. You can't get in, and they have a Mother's Day brunch early, 12.
Yeah.
Father's Day come, it's still the same restaurant opens at 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yep.
Nothing happens, right? Nothing, but they still need dad. Dad still is a critical and key component. So guys out there, fathers, don't be deterred. You all are still important and essential in your kids' life. So be encouraged. Be encouraged. But if you want to join our show that is going to be, I'm looking to do it on Father's Day, you can just drop me a line, info@jackmangroup.llc.com. If you would like to be part of this special program or broadcast on Father's Day, just drop me a line, info@jackmangroup.llc.com. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. Happy Father's Day to you all. And may God certainly continue to bless you and your family. Be strong. Be strong. Be strong. All right.
All right.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Not a problem.
Take care, all. Nice to meet you. Good to see you, Patrick.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Patrick. Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome. You are welcome. So thank you so very much for joining us on this, the 30, as we celebrate fathers and Father's Day. Remember, we're going to try to do a special on actual Father's Day, that Sunday. I'm going to have to, after go to dinner, come home maybe and put it on. But you will see it because I'll put it up. But if you want to be on the show, as if you are a father, and you want to be on the show for Father's Day as we do our Father's Day special, again, simply send me an email, info@jackmangroup.llc.com. We would love to have you on as we celebrate fathers on Father's Day. That's it for now. Thank you so very much. I will see you either Sunday, but most certainly next Thursday for another episode of the 30. May God bless you and your family, and be safe out there for fathers, expecting fathers, and those that play the role of a father, meaning a man that plays the role, whether in support or whether the life of a coach, whoever you are supporting children. Make sure that you do it the best that you can. There's no perfection, but if you make sure that you put your best effort forward, you will be rewarded, and the child that you are supporting will be greatly appreciative. So God bless you again. We'll see you either Sunday or next week. Thank you for being here.
This is John Chen, the author of the Amazon #1 hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings. I personally want to say thank you for listening to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. It is my passion to help you eliminate bad virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so that you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast with all of the latest ideas. Hey, I want to meet you. If you want to talk about a virtual meeting challenge, or if you want to be the next guest on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, just go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet. That's engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, MEET, and find your best time to meet up. Thank you, and I look forward to engaging with you online.